In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Christ is risen. Indeed, he is risen. That is one of my favorite parts of Pascha, especially when we're celebrating Divine Liturgy in the church, is when the priest can come out with his candles and he could scream at the top of his lungs, Christ is risen. Then everybody in the church, especially the children, are able to yell back at the priest for the one time we're able to yell in church and say, indeed he is risen, indeed he is risen, proclaiming that glorious truth that Christ is risen from the dead. I miss that, especially not being able to be physically in the church with all of you. And I hope that at home, whenever you're watching the Divine Liturgy on your TVs and on your computers with your family, I hope that whenever I come out and say, Christ is risen, that you're able to yell back, indeed he is risen, at the top of your lungs. I cannot wait until we're all back together in the church to be able to do that and to say those beautiful words together and just to scream at the top of our lungs that, yes, indeed he is risen. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you this morning, especially since we just celebrated Easter, is for those of you that don't know, we say Christ is risen not only in English, but we say it in all different types of languages. We remember that he's not just risen here in our own church, but he's risen and everybody's proclaiming that beautiful truth throughout the entire world. And so I thought today I would start by teaching you some different ways to say Christ is risen, so that whenever we're able to be back together in the church, you're going to be able to yell at the top of your lungs all of the responses. So some of the ones that we use here in the church is we all know Christ is risen, indeed he is risen. And that's English. That's what we speak here in the United States where we live. But another popular one that you might hear in a lot of churches is Christos Voskrese. And this is what they say in all of the Slavic countries like Russia and the Ukraine and different areas that speak more Slavic languages, is Christos Voskrese. And the response is Voistino Voskrese. Can you say that? So the priest will come out and say, Christos Voskrese, Voistino Voskrese. So try that, practice that one. And another one is, of course, we know the Greek, Christos Anesti, the priest will say, and the response is Alithos Anesti. So Christos Anesti, Alithos Anesti. So you could practice that one. Another popular one, we have a lot of people that speak Romanian in our church, and they do Christos Inviat. This is a difficult one, I think, because I didn't grow up Romanian, but Christos Inviat, Adevărat Înviat. Adevărat înviat. So that's one you should practice. Another one that we do here, because we have some Albanians that come to our parish, is Christi Ungjall, Vërtet Ungjall. Christi Ungjall, Vërtet Ungjall. So you could practice that one at home. And then maybe another one that we use here often is the one that is said in Arabic countries. It's El Masiacham Hakankam. El Masiacham Hakenkam. See, I'm not Arabic. Even that one is difficult for me. But hopefully, just by hearing some of these and maybe playing this video over and over, you can learn some of the different ways that we say Christ is risen, so that whenever we're in the church yelling it and screaming it at the top of our lungs, you're going to be able to respond back in all of the different languages that we use in the church. And one of the projects that I wanted you to work on, we celebrate, this week is called Bright Week. So we celebrate Pascha with special services all throughout this first week of Pascha. But the first Sunday that we celebrate after Pascha is called St. Thomas Sunday. St. Thomas Sunday. And of course, the story is that after Christ was risen from the dead, he went and he saw the disciples who were all kind of huddled behind closed doors. They were scared that the Romans were going to come and to knock on their doors and find all the followers of Christ. And so they were hiding and they were scared because their teacher, Jesus, had just been crucified on the cross and they didn't know what to think. But then Christ appeared to them and he showed them the print of the nail in his hands, and he showed them his side, and he said, "Peace be with you." And they were so excited because Christ had appeared to them and risen from the dead. But there was one person that wasn't there. He wasn't there. And when the disciples told him, "Hey, Christ is risen, he just appeared to us," he says, "I don't believe it. Unless I see the print in his hand from the nails or am able to see his side, I'm not going to believe it. And that disciple's name was Thomas. And so today, in the icon that we have here in the center of the church, we remember that Christ came back a little bit later, and I'm going to bring this up close to the camera here. Christ came back, and he said to Thomas, he said, "Hey, reach your hand in my side. Look at the nail prints in my hand. I am risen." And he said something very important. He says, "Because you have seen me, you believe." But he said, "Blessed are those who have not been able to see me and not been able to touch the nail holes in my hand and in my side, but yet have believed." And there was a project that I wanted you guys to work on this week for me. And I'm hoping that you can email it back and send it, have your parents email it back or send it to the church. But I was hoping that you could draw me a picture of all of the ways that we know that Christ is risen and that he is still here with us. And I'm going to give you some examples. I think one of the ways that we know that God is still with us in the world, have you ever just looked outside and wondered where all of creation had come from? Even if you pick up and go outside and pick up a small piece of grass, you could look really closely at the piece of grass and you see all these different lines and you really realize how amazing all the detail is in just that one little piece of grass. And that's just grass. I mean, look how beautiful flowers are and how they cover the world and give us happiness and brightness. And we look at all the animals and how they're able to eat the grass and to find food out in nature. God created all of nature. He created all of that. And so every time we walk outside, we're given this reminder that God is with us, that he exists. And so that's what I was hoping that you could do this week, is to draw me a picture of some way or something out in creation that you know and reminds you that God is with us and God exists. So if you could do that for me and have your parents send that back to me in an email, I would just be so happy for that. And make sure that you practice your Christ is risen responses so that when we're able to get back in church with all of those different languages, you're going to be able to shout back to the priest when he says, "Christos voskrese, voistina voskrese, Christos anesti, alithos anesti, Christos enviat, adeverat enviat, el Messiacham, hakan kam, Christiunjal, Vertetunjal, and all of the different languages that we're able to say, Christ is risen, indeed he is risen. I cannot wait to see you again. You are all in my prayers, and until the next time I'm able to talk with you over the video and over the internet, Christ is risen.